Hello and welcome to class 10 of the Prenatal Yoga series, 20 weeks to term, 29 weeks pregnant. This week we'll be focusing on the hips and pelvis. We want to encourage hip mobility during pregnancy to help keep a natural openness. It also stretches the psoas muscle and helps release the pelvic ligaments that might be overly tight. And ultimately, this leads to an easier labour. Alrighty, so I have got a few props here. I do recommend props if you're a prop kind of gal. I tend not to really use them, but yes, if you've got a chair, and you've got a block, and you've got a few cushions, I will just grab them. Better to just have them there. Alrighty. So we'll start to find our comfy seat, and just a reminder about how in pregnancy we have this tendency to have this arch in our lower back, and that's due to the increasing weight in the front body. But this arch in the lower back can create like a shortening and therefore a tightening of the psoas muscles that run from the spine across like the front of the pelvis, kind of like wings, and then attach in to the upper thigh bones. And this tightness in the piriformis muscle creates a lot of the ailments that we experience in pregnancy, like the leg pain and the lower back pain. So as much as possible, if you notice this anterior tilt, to try and neutralize the spine a little bit more, especially when finding your seat. Once you've found your comfortable seat, as always, we start off just checking in with the natural breath. And I pose this question: how do you know that you're breathing? What are the sensations that indicate you're breathing, and where do you feel these sensations? I'm just noticing where the breath is in the body, how easeful it may or may not be. And we'll just continue to follow the breath in through the nose, through the throat, through the lungs, and back out. Tracing the breath as much as possible as it is. We'll take just one more following the breath. One more round. And then wherever you are, we'll breathe out together and commence one-to-one breathing. Inhale for a count of 4. 3, 2, 1. Exhale for 4. 3, 2, 1. Inhale. Exhale. So you can keep this metronome going in your head. If it's too slow or too quick for you, then you can just breathe with your own count. Just making sure they're even in versus out breaths. And as you breathe, an invitation to really feel the breath. Feel the way it moves the body. Invitation to lengthen the breath. We'll do a few more rounds of breath. This one-to-one breath. And wherever you are, one more round. A full in and out breath. Beautiful. If your eyes were closed, you can gently open them. And we'll bring the legs out in front of us. So in just a seated pose with the legs out straight, or Dandasana pose. Doing what you need to do to feel comfy in this shape. And then again, checking in with your lower back. If there's that arch in your spine, just as much as possible. Neutral spine. Hands wherever they feel comfy, maybe beside you or behind you. We'll just begin again to just continue breathing. You might like to continue with the one-to-one breathing. And we're going to draw our attention to the legs and our feet. We'll begin to flex the toes towards the nose and extend them, really point them towards the floor. And we'll continue this, just feeling into the back of the legs in flexion and the front of the legs in extension. Continue this and just breathing in a way that supports this movement, that makes it feel better. Enjoying the simplicity of this pose and really feeling its therapeutic effects, especially if you're experiencing some swelling in your lower legs, your ankles, your feet. This is a beautiful way to just move. We'll start to do some circles. So whatever comes naturally, just paying attention to the way that the feet are moving. So that in a few rounds, we'll go the opposite direction. And again, continuing conscious breathing with this movement. The breath, a beautiful anchor point for the mind to connect to. We'll switch it up the other way. And this will be important during labour. You know, you have intense pain in one area of your body, but there's many areas of the body that are pain-free, and we have the breath. We have movement and the breath to really zone in on. Just a few more in this direction. And the next couple of poses we'll be doing, create some space in the pelvis. So once you finish your last few rounds, we'll come into that butterfly position. So your feet may be quite close to your groin or further up away in more of a diamond shape, whatever feels most comfortable for you. Again, the arms by your side or maybe behind you. And then a few options today. You can kind of rock on your sitting bones and see how this feels. So you can see my legs moving in this kind of motion. Imagining how baby feels as you move in this way. You might like to continue with this. Otherwise, you might like to do some more of a butterfly motion or like a rocking with the knees motion, like a boat. And just feeling free to move between these two options or sticking with one, whatever feels better for you, wherever you can breathe more naturally. Couple more rounds. Of beautiful breath. Okay. Keeping the legs in this shape, you can grab with your hands either your feet or your ankles. I'm going to go for my ankles. And as you press your feet together and down into the floor, the knees down towards the floor and the hips and your butt down towards the floor, you lengthen against this, lengthening the spine up and out of the pelvis all the way through the crown of the head. You can broaden your chest. And you might like to stay just here, enjoying this beautiful lengthening of your spine, opening of the pelvis, but potentially also a nice stretch across the shoulders, maybe your arms. And then you can kind of do some free movement here. So you might, as you can continue this pull as you go back, and you can maybe bend your elbows as you come forward. Just any exploration of movement in this shape. Just some pelvic circles, maybe. Or side to side, rocking. Just starting to feel free to move any way that your body is drawn towards, and if it's not drawn towards anything, just feeling free to experiment with different movement and to really concentrate on how the movement makes you feel. All right, from here we'll come just cross-legged for a moment. An option to do some hip circles here. So if the cross-legged doesn't feel good, you could go back to butterfly. The cross-legged makes me feel a little bit more supported. And then you're just moving in a circular motion, maybe alternating between rotation, anti-clockwise and clockwise. And if you're inclined to go one way, maybe go a few times one direction and then mix it up. And feeling free to move the upper body how you want here. Maybe going side to side, not even circular. Just moving in a way that feels good for you. You can breathe normal breathing, easeful breathing. Just a few more breaths here. Once you finish your few rounds of breath, we'll keep the left leg bent in and we'll bring the right leg out. The right arm can slide down the right leg just as far as it can. And the left arm will reach up and over, So the upper body is slightly turning towards the left knee to feel a lovely opening along the left-hand side. It doesn't matter where your right arm is. It could be on the floor in front of your leg or on the other side of your leg. Just aiming to feel this stretch down the side body as we get a nice opening through the hips and the pelvis. 2 more rounds of breath. And we'll lower that left arm down and we'll come into some nice open twists. Arms reach up, inhale. And we'll twist to the left, so the right hand just to the floor in front of you, closer towards the left knee. Back up, inhale. And we'll twist to the right, left hand down. Continue with this, inhaling to come up and exhaling to gently twist. Two more rounds of breath, inhaling to come up, exhaling to twist. Last round of breath. Beautiful. Arms reach up on an inhale breath. And arms down side, breathe out. Continue to breathe normally. The left leg will come out and the right leg will come in. Left arm slides along the left leg as far as it can. Right arm up and over, and then that opening of the body towards now the right knee. To feel this stretch along the right hand side. Again, it doesn't matter where this left hand is. So find a comfy place for it where you feel that, it's not taking your focus, where you can keep your attention on your breath and really feel into this side stretch. 2 more rounds of breath. All right, both arms up, inhale. And we'll twist to the left. Back up. To the right, you know what to do. Inhaling to bring the arms up and exhaling to twist. As you come up through center, really lengthening through the spine and a lovely open twist. Keep broad in your chest. And as you bring your fingers down to the floor, really press the floor away from you to encourage that lengthening through the spine. Your own natural rhythm now. Couple more rounds of breath. Arms reach up, a big breath in. Arms down by your side or behind you to breathe out. Take both legs out nice and wide. And again, that natural alignment of the spine. Just start to flex and extend the feet again. Feel into how the legs are feeling. Do they need to be closer together? Could you bring them further apart? Do you need a bend in your knees? Do you need your hands for support? And if so, you might like to stay just in this position, lengthening the spine and enjoying an opening stretch along the inner thighs and a gentle opening of the inner knees. Otherwise, we'll begin churning the mill. So we can interlace the fingers, and it's almost like you're stirring a pot or, this energy. It's a beautiful movement. Like you're stirring the air, moving from one foot to the other, and then breathing in a way that feels comfortable for you. So if you like, you can go back, but that does engage the core. So maybe just going back a little bit. I like to breathe as I go back and exhale as I come forward. We'll do a few more rounds in this direction. This is a beautiful way to stimulate flow of energy in the pelvis. We'll make one more circular motion this way, and then we'll change it up going the other way. All right, a few more this way. You can make your circles as small or as big as you like. And once you've finished your few, we'll just sit with the arms behind the body. We'll open the chest. Couple more rounds of breath. And then we'll make our way to all fours for a tabletop position. Okay, so the knees underneath the hips, the hands underneath the shoulders. And then just paying attention to your lower back. So I'm lucky I can see on my camera where my back is, but otherwise you can place your hand, and if you've kind of got that anterior tilt, just gently encouraging the tailbone to lengthen directly behind you. And then the opposite of this, the crown of the head directly in front of you. As you push your hands into the floor, feel engagement through the arms and also the chest. Broaden your chest. And then again, you can kind of press through the feet here as well, just to stay engaged. Couple of breaths in this position. Staying nice and engaged, really squeeze through your left glute and press through the left foot. We'll lift the right knee off the floor into like a right angle, and my back's gone into that massive anterior tilt. So we'll try and kind of reduce this if possible. Maybe we won't bring the knee up as high. And then we'll bring the leg out to the side and back down. So the breath will be, take an inhale breath, lengthen the tailbone back. Exhale, squeeze your right glute, lift the knee. Inhale, take the leg out to the side. And exhale, knee down. We'll go a couple more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, open. Exhale, down. Inhale, length. Exhale, lift. Inhale, open. Exhale, down. We'll go one more time. Inhale, length. Exhale to lift. Inhale to open. Exhale, down. We'll sit back on the feet. Give the arms a little bit of, and wrists a little bit of a shake. And just 3 rounds of breath to notice what you notice. The third trimester is a beautiful time to concentrate on the self. Connecting with breath helps facilitate this. concentration and attention on the self. All right, we'll come back to hands and knees. Hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Pressing the structures that are against the floor. Alrighty, so inhale to lengthen. Exhale to lift, squeeze your left butt. Inhale to open. Exhale, leg down. Inhale, lengthen. Lift, exhale. Inhale, open. Exhale, down. Couple more times. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last time. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Again, back down. This time in a child's pose position. So lots of different options, and you might find your own. You don't have to come into a child's pose shape really. You could come with the arms underneath or kind of threading between the legs with the butt up more. Just paying attention if you're really arching, just to the spine nice and long. Or you might like to keep your butt up in the air, come onto the elbows and rest your head in your hands. I like to bring the forearms to the ground and my bum towards the heels, taking the legs as wide as you need. And resting the head, letting it hang. Three more rounds of breath. Coming back to hands and knees. Hands under shoulders, knees underneath the hips. And then again, you might like to place your hand on your back just to make sure you haven't got that arch in your spine. As we move through our happy and angry cats, focusing on lengthening the tailbone back and the crown of the head forward. So hopefully just staying in this neutral position where even just this is helping just lengthen those piriformis muscles a little bit and hopefully easing some lower back discomfort. So inhale, really lengthen tailbone back, crown of head forward, and exhale, push the floor away from you, tuck the pelvis, tuck the chin into the chest. Happy cat or neutral cat, angry cat. Really focusing on the upper body, rounding in your angry cat. Continue a few more rounds just like this. And you can stay doing happy and angry cat, or you can start to do some pelvic rocking in this position, our hands and knees position. Pelvic rocking can be side to side, it can be back and forward, and it can be circular movements. Or kind of, just non-circular, any movements really. Barrel rolling. Just moving in a way that feels good. This is actually one to clock for your labour. It's one therefore good to practice, before you go into labour, so you can really feel how this position makes you feel. Baby is off the spine and the pressure. You don't have lots of the pressures off the back. It's a really great distraction, the movements from labour pain, and creates openness for the baby to move through the birth canal. So just enjoying a few more rounds of breath here. Doing as small or as bigger movements as you like. Alrighty, then we'll come back to a child's pose position. 3 more rounds of breath. Noticing whatever you notice. Alright, when you've finished your few rounds of breath, we will make our way into a standing position. I'm going to come through downward dog first. So if downward dog still feels great for you, then you can come through a downward dog position. Otherwise, if you're not making your way into downward dog, you could do a kneeling pose with your toes tucked to get a nice toe stretch. Otherwise, downward dog, and just feeling into this shape, feeling how the legs feel. Taking free license to move in a way that feels good for you, or an invitation to just explore. There's no right or wrong way to explore movement in your body when you're listening to the body and you're responding to the body. You're moving away from discomfort that doesn't feel right. One more round of breath. And then stepping the feet towards the hands, however you'd like to get there. We'll take the feet nice and wide, more than hip width. Take a halfway lift, hands to shins or just under your knees, lengthening the tailbone back, lengthening the crown of the head forward, broadening across the chest, and just a gentle hug of your belly and bubs in towards your spine. Take one more big breath in. Forward fold, bend your knees, breathe out. 2 more like this. Halfway lift, inhale. Forward fold, breathe out. Halfway lift, breathe in, nice and broad, nice and long. Bend your knees and soften, breathe out. Press through the feet, arms up, reach up, a big breath in. Hands to heart, breathe out. 2 more times like this, sweeping up, inhale. Nice and long spine, hands to heart, breathe out. Sweeping up, breathe in. Hands to heart. We'll add on. Arms reach up, a big breath in. Forward fold, breathe out. Take a halfway lift, inhale. Forward fold, breathe out. Press through the feet, arms up, reach up, a big breath in. Forward fold. Noticing the forward folds, you might not go as deep. Halfway lift, inhale. You're accommodating your belly, and just a little bow. Press through the feet, arms reach up, big breath in. Your bow, nice bend in the knees. Lengthen your halfway lift. Little bow. All right, we add on arms up, reach up. Forward fold. Halfway lift, inhale. Come into a froggy squat. Breathe out, so froggy squat. Your weight is through the hands, the knees are more forward, and then you've got that license now to explore, to experiment with movement in your body. That might be some knee circles, like you're doing some backstroke, or you might even feel like you're kind of swimming with your legs. Opening and closing. Whatever feels good for you. Remembering we want to keep that ease of breath. Couple more rounds of breath. Alrighty, then we'll bend the left leg. So coming up into like, almost like you're kneeling, but just in the left leg. And then the right leg, your foot's flat. So we're in like a half squat now with the hands to the floor. This is the half squat is a great pose also during labor, and it's a great one to practice just to kind of feel into this shape, before you're in labor. So you get acquainted with the shape and how it makes your body feel. So again, license to experiment now. Experiment just with moving the foot and the knee, rocking forwards and back, or to the side a bit more. Or anything else that you can think of. A great position for labor as you're supported by the hands and this leg that's in the kneeling position, and you have a lovely open pelvis. And with the weight forward again, pressure off the back encourages baby to move through the birth canal. It's really nice to experiment with movement, as it can help us become a little bit more intuitive and in a primal state. Just really feeling into it. Alrighty. We'll change that up to the other side. So we'll bend that right knee. So we're in the kneeling position on the right side and the half squat on the other side. And then just exploring this shape. Maybe taking the hands more forward and back. There's no right or wrong. I don't want to give you too many options, but really the sky's the limit. Well, to some extent, in this shape. But even the smallest of movements, can have a big impact on the body, can make us feel good. Or provide a focus point for our concentration. All right, a few more breaths. And then when you're ready, we'll come back to hands and knees. So back to the tabletop position. And from this tabletop position, we'll just rock between tabletop into some kind of child's pose type shape. So it might not be the hips all the way down, but you just come forward and back. You could take the knees as wide as you like. And just seeing how this pose makes you feel, or this movement, sorry, makes you feel. Oh, I've been getting massive cramps in my toes and my legs lately. I've invested in a magnesium salt spray. Alrighty, couple more like this. And then we'll make our way eventually up to standing. So if you'd like to come through downward dog, please be my guest. I love a downward dog. Nice bend in the knees, pedaling of the feet for a moment, just for a breath in and out. And then making your way to the top of the mat. We'll take a halfway lift inhale. Take the feet really nice and wide for a ragdoll hang. So knees bent as much as you need. Support of the hands on your ankles, your legs, or grabbing the elbows and placing them on the thighs. Really pressing down through the feet so the hips lift up and the head drapes along with the spine, drapes towards the floor. A few rounds of breath here. Alrighty, coming up in a way that's supportive, maybe hands on the legs or at the hips. Bring the feet in a little bit more if they're really wide. Arms reach up, a big breath in. Hands to heart, really squeeze your glutes. 2 more times, release the glutes, arms reach up, inhale. Hands to heart, and just an opportunity to squeeze, activate, push the hips forward. Last time. Okay, release your glutes for a moment. Arms reach up, big breath in. Chair pose, hands to your heart. So the feet hip width apart. Maybe hand to your lower back just to see, do I have that big arch? And if you do, just a gentle lengthening of the tailbone, or you can think of it like the hip tips are tucking upwards to meet the ribs, and the ribs are kind of tucking downwards a little bit. Or you could imagine like a cross, this rib coming towards this hip tip, and then vice versa. But just small engagement through the abdomen. If hands are uncomfortable at your heart, with them pressing together, you could always bring them to your hips. And we will be here for a few more rounds of breath. You can come deeper if you want to work a little stronger. Focusing on the breath. Really, chair pose is a great one to strengthen your thighs, the glutes, and release your hips. One more big breath in. Big breath out. Press through the feet, arms up, reach up, inhale. Chair pose just once, wave your arms back. We'll press down through the left foot, getting ready for stork pose, right leg lifts. If you're feeling a bit off balance, then just one foot to floor. And in fact, if you have any pelvic instability, we shouldn't really be doing anything on one leg. So yeah, please keep your both feet on the ground. There might be some moves that you're not able to do. Otherwise, stork pose, flex your foot, That knee can be as high or as low as you like, and just breathing normal. And we'll bring the leg out to the side, kind of like we did from a tabletop position at the beginning of class. You can stay here or you can add on opening the body to the right and coming into a half moon shape. Really working your glutes. Oh, I'm very off balance today. So maybe that's an invitation for me to stay here. But just to demonstrate the half, if I can. Not able to today, maybe. Half moon. All right, we'll take one more big breath in. We'll bring that foot to the floor. Just so we're coming into a warrior one. So the foot may be at more of a 45-degree angle, taking the feet nice and wide, at least hip width apart. And then again, the legs can be quite high, just a small bend, or we can come down and work a little bit stronger if we like. Arms reach up. Just 2 rounds of breath here. Take one more big breath in. And we'll open out to a warrior 2 shape where we take 2 rounds of breath here. Nice, keeping this left knee nice and broad, grounded through the outer edge of this back foot. Really pressing down through the feet, lengthening up, out through the crown of the head. 1 prana pull, so straighten your front leg, arms reach up, big breath in. Back to a warrior 2, breathe out. Inhale, back of the mat, Skandasana, so the foot turns out slightly. And we'll just stay here for 2 rounds of breath. I'm up on the heel and flexing the foot. I'm staying nice and high. You can come lower if that feels good for you. In flow, we'll just be here for a breath. We'll take 1 more big breath in, and we'll step to the top of the mat to breathe out. Arms reach up, inhale. Hands to heart, breathe out. Arms reach up, a big breath in. Chair pose times 1, breathe out. Stork pose, press through the right foot, left leg lifts up. And again, you might be keeping your both feet on the floor. And when we come to those open positions, you can still open your hips, but just keeping the feet on the floor. Otherwise, leg as high as you can, finding the balance point first, really pressing down through the right foot, squeezing your right glute. Maybe coming to this open hip position and staying here, especially if balance is challenging for you today. Otherwise, an option, invitation to open up into a half moon position. It's funny how we can do some things better on some sides than others. You'll take 1 more big breath in your half moon. And then you've got a whole exhale breath to place the feet ready for warrior 1. Taking the feet nice and wide, breathing normal. Arms reach up. And a couple of breaths here. One more big breath in and out. Energize your fingertips, inhale. Warrior 2, breathe out. Back to breath for 2 more rounds. Prana pull, inhale, just one. Warrior two, breathe out. Skandasana, back of the mat. 2 more rounds of breath. Take a full breath in. Step to the top of the mat, breathe out. Arms reach up, inhale. Hands to heart, breathe out. In flow now. Arms reach up, a big breath in. 1 chair pose, exhale. Ground down through the left, lift the right leg, inhale. Open out the hip or come into a half moon to a step to breathe out. 1 breath, warrior one. Warrior two, breathe out. Prana pull, inhale. Skandasana to breathe out. Step to the top of the mat, inhale. Exhale. Arms reach up, big breath in. Hands to heart. Arms reach up, inhale. Chair pose. Ground down through the right foot, left leg lifts. Open out to step. Inhale. Warrior two. Prana pull. Skandasana. Top of the mat. Arms reach up. Hands to heart. 1 more time. Arms up, inhale. Chair pose. Left foot grounds, right knee lifts. Open. Inhale up. Exhale down. Prana. Skanda. Top of your mat. Arms up, inhale. Hands to heart, breathe out. Arms up, inhale. Chair pose. Ground down through the right, left leg lifts, inhale. Open to step, exhale. Warrior one. Warrior two. Prana pull. Skanda. Top of your mat. 3 rounds of breath. Alrighty. We'll make our way back to the middle of the mat and we'll come into a seat. So here I've got a chair for this reason. You can either sit cross-legged or you can bring your legs into more of a 90-degree angle, both ways, 1 foot in front of the other, or even on top of your leg. And then you can lean against the chair if this feels good. And this is where you stretch along the outside of the thigh and your glutes, and it's a really beautiful, nice open position to open the hips and pelvis. Otherwise, you'll do this reclined in a figure 4 position. So the right ankle just below the left knee, and then taking a bind if this feels good, transferring the weight to the left-hand side. So just seeing how you feel. If you feel quite compressed in this position, Then come back to the seated option. You can even, if you don't have a chair, just lean forward. We'll take 2 more rounds of breath. And then we'll switch sides. So you might have, again, just a general cross of your legs, or more 90 degree angle with one foot in front of the other, or on top of your thigh. And then you might be leaning forward onto a chair and enjoying this. Otherwise, leaning forward or trying that recline position. So just changing the feet now. So I've got my left ankle just below the right knee and taking the bind. Listening to your body if you start to feel dizzy at all or uncomfortable in your abdomen. Then just making your way back up to a seat, or perhaps that's where you're choosing to stay. A few more breaths here. And you move out of whatever shape you're in. If you're seated, you just come down onto your forearms and make your way onto your back. Take your knees into your armpits for a moment, and then feet back on the floor. So feet on the floor, hip width apart, just 3 bridges. Squeeze your glutes. You can press the elbows down into the floor and have these robot arms. Squeeze the glutes to lift the pelvis. Doesn't need to be high, just to kind of release tension in the lower back. We'll lower down. To activate the glutes for a last time, a nice symmetrical pose. So a couple more times, we'll go up and down, breathing in a way that feels good for you. Last time, really squeeze your butt, press the feet. Release your arms. And here, option to do some windscreen wipers with the legs. You can move quickly or you can move quite slowly. The arms can be where they like. Couple more breaths here. And then you've got a couple of options for your final resting shape. So that might be in the flapping fish pose with a pillow underneath your head, and you'll be laying on your left-hand side. Otherwise, if you have got a block and a cushion, you can come into a lovely recline position, but we're not reclined on our back. So that's contraindicated in the 3rd trimester, laying flat on the back. So if you've got this option, this is a lovely option where you can be reclined and get a lovely opening of your shoulders. Otherwise, just staying on your left-hand side in flapping fish to enjoy your final resting position. If you are taking this option, where the block is, it should be up higher on your back rather than in the middle of your back. And then just seeing how it feels to relax the head. If this doesn't feel good, maybe popping another pillow or a block underneath the head. The feet can come wide, the knees can knock in. Or you can let your legs come out long and wide. And just enjoying being reclined, safely reclined. Where you get to Follow your breath a little longer, using the exhales as an invitation to let go. Or you can let go of the breath completely. Before you really surrender to this shape or letting go of the breath, just a quick body scan to see if there's any areas where you're holding on, and inviting, always just an invitation with no expectation for the body to let go. Invite it to let go. The feet, the knees, the hips. And see what happens. No expectation. Invite the fingers, the forearms, the elbows, the head. Even in this supported reclined position, if you start to feel any discomfort in your abdomen or any discomfort from this shape, then move out of it. You can move into that left-hand side position. Just another, maybe less than a minute. To completely relax. So of course it is your house, it is your rules. You're welcome to stay for as long as you like. If you do need to move on with your day, you start to deepen your inhale breaths, focusing on energizing the body. And with your deepening of your breath, you might like to start taking some movements, getting ready to come to a seat. And always acknowledging your efforts in coming to your mat, to persisting, if you're still here, with the whole class. As always, thank you for sharing your practice with me. Have a beautiful rest of your day.